Hey everyone, this is Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and I'm just trying something a little bit different today for this Flosstube episode. So what I'm doing here is my first stitch with me tutorial style of episode, and I'm playing around a little bit with um, the settings and all the rest in the hope that this could be something a little bit more regular, whether it be monthly or I guess maybe some tutorials and that kind of thing as well. So what I'm going to be doing for this particular session is doing a little bit of a stitch with me on one of my own designs, which is called Flosstube Made Me Do It. And you might have seen me talk about this particular pattern in earlier episodes, especially as part of some new releases and also a little bit of a work in progress or a fully finished item. So hopefully this all works out well. I've already made a start on this particular project, and again, it was part of me sort of playing around with some settings, and I think I'd also started this particular project as part of a stitching challenge for the Autumn in Stars Hollow Black Needlework Stitching Box Retreat. So hopefully all of this goes well, and if nothing else, you will hopefully learn a little bit more about how I stitch based on what we're seeing on the screen, and you can also probably listen to me ramble on a little bit. If you're not really interested in hearing me ramble, by all means mute me and at least just stitch along and see how things go. So what I'm doing with this particular project is I'm stitching this on 14 count Aida. It's a fabric that I had bought a while ago, and I think I have the business card floating around with me. My apologies for any rustling you might hear. I work in a state of slight mess. Here we go. This is a business card I'm looking for. So the threaded needle is an online Australian company business that I had bought this fabric from, and it's this particular fabric. I'll put this up a little bit so you can hopefully see some details. So the camera doesn't focus very well. The website address is threadedneedle.com.au, and Lucy has her email address underneath the website address as well, and I think it might have been through a Facebook group, one of the Facebook groups, cross-stitch groups that I'm part of, where there might have been a sale that Threaded Needle were having, or something to that effect, and I was wanting to build up my fabric stash a bit, and I actually bought this marbled peach fabric, which I'm stitching Flosstube Made Me Do It on, and I also bought like a mint green marbled fabric that I also stitched the first edition of Flosstube Made Me Do It on, and I'll grab the other project. I also stitched the gingerbread train as well on the marbled green fabric, so hopefully this is the first project that I'd stitched on the marbled green fabric, and I also featured this particular project in my very first Flosstube episode, where I was sharing with all of you some of the projects that I'd worked on and completed, and this particular project I had stitched in the hope of giving it to my nephew as I think a Christmas present or a birthday present or something to that effect. And I love the pattern. This particular pattern is by Shannon Christine Designs, and it's available on her website, shannonchristine.com, I believe. And I actually got this particular pattern from the Ultimate Cross Stitch Christmas Cross Stitch magazine. I believe it was the 2018 edition, volume 19. And I bought it, definitely back around the Christmas of 2018 from a news agency here in Australia. So I definitely enjoy stitching this project, and you may see that I've made some fumbles on it, especially with the word Christmas wishes. And so it's more that I think where we see some of the beads at the end here and the gingerbread train, I don't think I'd stitched that far enough. It was actually the border, now I remember. The border I hadn't stitched far enough in length to allow me to be able to have enough room for the words sweet Christmas wishes. And so that's where I got a bit creative with the word Christmas, just to get it all fitted in. And also I've used some foam board. Foam board's the best way I can put it. I guess it was some foam that had come part of some packaging of something. I can't remember exactly. It might have been a TV, or there might have been something. And so I wrapped it around this bit of foam, and you might see that it's actually fairly thick foam. And I don't have the right tools to be able to have cut this thinner in terms of the foam thinner, and I was going to try and do some lacing, but it didn't work very well. And so I should have trimmed down a lot of this green fabric more than what I have here. And I also used a lot of the Mod Podge glue to stick it down, and I guess I could probably stick something else over the top here of the back, or I could try and lift up the fabric a little bit and trim it down and make it neater. But because of this being my first attempt of trying something a little bit different with the finishing, that's why I'm not comfortable with giving it to my nephew or to anyone really. And I guess if I didn't stick anything on the back of the project, I probably could stick it to some kind of solid board or something and frame it up as something. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Anyway, I'm rambling a bit. I really should get on to doing a little bit of stitching. Okay, so with Flosstube made me do it. This is my I guess homage or dedication to the world of Flosstube, and how as stitchers we enable each other, and just by sharing our craft, sharing our passion and love of different projects that we're working on. And I'm just going to get rid of this smaller needle. Hang on. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing here is talking about my homage to Flosstube and our ability to enable each other. So I'm hoping that I can get some more patterns added to this particular collection. And actually, while I think of it, I do have it nearby. Bear with me. Okay, so just before I do actually get into stitching, this is another part of me developing a little bit more of a dedication to our ability to enable each other. And this is a bit of a banner that I started stitching up because I just love this colour blue, and I really wanted to use some of my specialty threads that I've bought from the Crafty Frog, which is I guess my local needlework store in Canberra. And a lot of these threads by memory are, what are they? They are cottage garden threads, I believe, or some very similar threads by other companies that I've picked up from that store. And I started making up the font a little bit, but I definitely had the idea of knowing what words I wanted included. And I guess I was just trying to play a bit around of trying to get the letters to fit in. And I guess I'm wanting to create another pincushion kind of thing, and I'm thinking a little bit more about how it can go, where my theory was that it could wrap around like a circular pattern. So whether I could make, Flosstube made me do it into a circular top, maybe even square it up and have this particular banner as the edging. This is probably where I'm just really undecided and fluffing around a little bit of not being too sure, and setting it aside. Okay, so without further ado, I really will make a start on this stitching, and I'm very much fluffing around a bit with this because I guess I'm a bit nervous of sharing with you how I stitch. Not that it's anything unconventional or strange at all, but I guess it's the fact that I'm used to looking at you all and you guys being able to see me rather than this particular camera angle. So I really hope this goes well. And I guess this is also me hoping that I can add a little bit of quirkiness or difference to some of the other stitch alongs and stitch with me, so we all have a bit of variety. That's pretty much my aim. I also want to point out that this pattern is fully compatible with Pattern Keeper, and I guess you will see a little bit of this particular pattern, and because I guess I'm the designer, I'm hesitant as well, because I understand that there are some dodgy things that happen out there. So hopefully all goes well. It'll be alright. Okay, so I do love that this stitches along so well, so easy. And so this is where I'm up to. I do like to use a bit of lead pencil or something to mark things off. So one of the things that I try to do with my stitching, especially if I've got a bit of excess fabric around, just move this thread out of the way, is I tend to wrap a bit of the fabric around the hoop. And if the hoop's not too big and there's not too much excess fabric, I'll hold it into my left hand, scooching just a little, and then I'll actually hold the hoop against my body a little bit to help secure the fabric. Good, you can see what's going on. I'm able to see what's happening a bit on a few different screens, so hopefully all works well. I would definitely love to hear some of your feedback on how this has worked for you. If there's a slightly different camera angle that you would prefer, and what I'm definitely keen to try and share with all of you is a camera angle, if I can somehow get my setup to work, is to actually have the camera angle, rather than it being directly over the top, for you to actually see like a side view of what I'm doing. And the idea of the side view is for you to be able to see what's happening underneath this top view. So you can actually see what my hands are doing underneath the hoop and how I find the stitches a little bit, or how I find the needle when it comes through, and how I then poke it back up through the fabric. A line of thinking of this is to help some people understand, I guess understand how stitching could be done if you want a choice, and it'll get there. It'll definitely get there. So in one of my Flosstube episodes, it should be the Flosstube 12, or it's definitely Flosstube Special, I called it, that's right. And it is scheduled, or was scheduled, for the 17th of October, Australian time. We're actually now on daylight savings time. It kicked in this weekend, so we're all adjusting a bit to having an extra skipping forward, or springing forward an hour. I don't know why. I always find I struggle a bit with the hour change of daylight savings time, and it's just an hour as well. It's bizarre. I guess it sort of shows that I don't travel a lot. I don't change time zones very often, and if I ever need to do a big international holiday, I will definitely be trying to find some remedies and find some ways that can help me cope with the transition, because I'm one of those people who are not very pleasant to be around when I am tired, let alone tired, inconvenienced, and hungry. I think I've seen on the internet, Pinterest especially, that there are some memes out there of people who are not, or a bit like myself, so it's always entertaining. I love scrolling through Pinterest. To me, it's a great time waster. I find it to be a good way of lifting my mood if I need it, and finding inspiration a bit for the cross stitch, finding motivation for running as well. So that's part of why I call myself the cross stitching runner, because my motto is to try and stitch every day and run when I can. So a part of my battle with running is I don't always enjoy the act of running, but I really enjoy how I feel after it. It's one of those sort of oxymorons of participating in fun runs, where people who don't run, they're like, how can you call it a fun run? Yeah, it's all good. So actually, speaking of running, and this also ties back into cross stitch, I've heard EJ from the Sunshine Stitches talking a little bit about this cross stitch group called Zombies Run, and that particular group is actually based on a running app that I use to help keep myself distracted from the act of running. And I'm not sure if anyone here is actually is part of that group. I'm actually curious to find out how that group works, because I've heard bits and pieces where my understanding is there's two groups. You have the runners group, and then you have the zombies group, and you'll have potentially challenges connected to the amount of miles or kilometers that are run, which is pretty much similar to the actual app, where you have missions where you can actually adjust how far you run with each mission as well, which feeds into how often you hear parts of the storyline to complete the mission. So the crux of it all is, if you're a runner, your aim is to, like if you have the chases part of the app activated, you'll hear a part of the storyline, and you'll receive motivation and such to do the running and keeping up the pace, and a pace that's comfortable for you as well. But then every so often you'll hear in one of your earpieces that zombies have been detected, and that the zombies might be, say, 50 meters away or 50 yards away, whichever the settings are for you. And it's also important to note that as part of each mission that you're running in, if you are actually running, is you're collect, aside from hearing the storyline, you're also picking up supplies along the way. And these supplies can range from clothing to food to weapons to defend yourself and the township against the zombies. Also, you as the runner, you are from the township of Able, and you're trying to protect Able Township and its citizens from all these zombies. And so the aim of collecting these supplies, aside from helping to build up the township and protect it from the herd of zombies that are always active, when you hear in your headpiece or your earpiece, that zombies have been detected, you need to pick up the pace. You need to start running a bit faster to get away from these zombies. And depending on what settings you've got set up, and also it might depend on where you're running as well, that sometimes it doesn't always work, where unfortunately the zombies do catch up to you. And rather than the zombies biting you or catching you in some way, you drop some supplies to actually, what's the wording, to distract them. And that's where, depending on how many supplies you've collected for the mission and how many spare supplies you might have hidden away in your clothing, and that you might be able to drop some supplies to distract them. So sometimes you might drop 3 supplies, 5 supplies, whatever the amount, as a way of distracting the zombies. And I imagine that's where the stitching side of things kicks in, where if you're on the zombies team, you would have to stitch the equivalent of 12 miles, for example. I don't know how the supplies work. I don't know what that works. So I guess maybe is that part of the prompt of what to stitch on? I don't know. I imagine it would be a similar thing if you're the runner as well in the stitching group. That can work as well. I'm thinking too much about this. I use Zombies Run for running, and yeah, I'm overthinking it. But I actually would love to hear a bit more about the Zombies Run app, as far as the stitching group, is concerned. If you're part of the group at all, yeah, I'd love to hear about it. If you can drop a line in the comments, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, why was I going with this running? That's right. I would love to run more. Even though, like I say, I don't always enjoy the act of running. I love how I feel after it. And in springtime, where I am in Canberra, I think even in the Canberra region, springtime is notoriously windy. I guess that as I've gotten older, I grumble a bit more about the wind. And for me, running is occasionally easy, but mostly uncomfortable and difficult, especially if I haven't run for a while. And the wind makes it harder, in the sense that I'm 9 times out of 10 usually running into the wind. And when I've talked about it with other people who run and are into fitness and that kind of thing, they try to see the positive of it, of saying that the running into the wind is a form of resistance, so it is going to help you run faster. And I agree, it does. Many years ago, about 7 to 5 years ago, 7 to 5, I don't know, 5 to 7 years ago, I was really into running, where I was running about 4 to 5 days a week, with my aim of running an average of 5 kilometres per day. And I was quite fit. I was able to significantly improve my running ability and my speed. And to put it into perspective, I was able to run 5 kilometres in 31 minutes and 30 seconds. And this was done on a course in Canberra, and it did have some hills in it, a couple of hills. And I had trained really hard for that run, and I was really proud of myself for achieving that time. And I still have the goal, but especially at that time, my goal was to run 5 kilometres in 30 minutes. And I'm not sure where I got that goal from. I think a lot of it was to do with a lot of people around me who were fast runners and potentially still are fast runners. And I wanted to keep up with them. But I think a lot of it was just my own personal goal and wanting to improve. And I guess for many people it's hard not to compare yourself with other people. And I guess I compared myself with other people who were running that race as well, and seeing their times, and just like, okay, I want to do better, I want to improve. So that's pretty much where my headspace was. I'm trying to improve and get better. But the problem with that, so because I was running so much, I did get injured a bit, mostly because I wasn't stretching enough. So the thing I need to make note of is that I wouldn't actually get injured while I was running. It was actually I would get injured during the training sessions that I would do at the gym. So the thing with running is to aim to do a bit of cross training and actually improve fitness through doing weights and other forms of cardio. And the aim also is, I guess, to try and reduce injury. Sorry for all the crinkle. I'm just moving hoop around, and I need to finish the letter T. But because of me not stretching enough, sorry for crinkles, because I wasn't stretching enough, and I have a tendency just to go off the fairies as it is, Okay. I would actually get injured, so I'd have a twisted knee. So my right knee, I twisted badly when I was in my early 20s, and it's never been the same since. And I was young, dumb. I know better now, and it's something where I at the time wasn't able to properly see. I did see a physio, but I think it was just at the time my lifestyle was different, and my lifestyle is definitely better now. It was just different then. So it's a case where I just need to build up the strength around, or continue building strength and keeping the strength there around that knee. And yeah, so that's where I'd have injuries at the gym and all the rest as well. But the wind did help. When I was doing a lot of running, I would run in almost every type of weather except for the rain. Springtime was still hard because I'd be sneezing my head off because I get hay fever. So there was those things. And I'm just trying to get back into running now, and I guess I just grumble about the wind, and I would rather run up and down steep hills, or run up steep hills especially, than run into the wind, because to me, running into the wind does the same thing as running up and down hills. It still gives that same strength factor. So these two pages cross over, so that's why I'm double checking. Well, thank you for letting me fluff around a bit about talking about running, because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Okay, so let's see if this will good. So going back to cross stitch, one of the things I am curious about is with the pattern I'm stitching on, is there something about it that you as a viewer and you as a stitcher think I could do to, what could I do to improve on this pattern? Is there something about the font? Is there something about the borders or something that could make it interesting? I also need to do a big note here to say that my ability to draw is significantly impaired, in the sense that I can stitch and I can write. I know that I write very well. I love the act of writing. But to actually hand draw any symbols, or to hand draw a picture of any kind, that is something that I struggle with, because I will have a clear idea in my mind of how I think it should look, but to convert the picture I have in my head to the paper in front of me, or to the computer screen even in front of me, it is quite difficult. So that's why I tend to use my photographs as a way of creating patterns instead. And I know I could probably collaborate with someone, which is definitely an option. Collaborate with someone who has an amazing ability to draw, and would be willing to share profits with me, or whatever the agreement would be suitable for. for creating something that can make it interesting. I mean, even with the font that I've chosen here, there's definitely so many varieties and options. But I'm just double checking I've got the right amount of stitches here. Cool. So the other thing I realise I'm not sharing with you very well what I'm stitching. So yeah, I guess I'm just curious, like based on what you've been seeing so far of this pattern, and I guess even the patterns that you may have seen on the Hot Cross Stitching website, I'm just curious about what I could do to improve the picture, improve the words, because that's the other thing as well. I know that not everyone is interested in stitching words or letters. So for some people I think it might also be, each to their own. I mean, I'm not really into stitching samplers, but I definitely appreciate the beauty and effort that goes into them and why they're so popular. So yeah, I'm definitely just curious. So yeah, if you can drop me a line in the comments as well. I'm definitely curious about your thoughts on that one. So today is the Monday. It's actually the public holiday in Canberra, at least. It's for at least some of the eastern states of Australia. So today's Labour Day for where I live, and yeah, I am trying to make the most of today by trying to get as much stitching done as I can on some different projects. And I don't know, I'm feeling a bit stressed about work tomorrow, mostly because I'm not feeling as prepared as what I should be for the meeting that I have. So it's my own undoing, really. It's my own, me causing my own stress, all that fun stuff, really. So that's why I'm not really looking forward to tomorrow. I am a public servant, so I work for the ACT government, which I guess is the equivalent of working for the state government. We don't have local councils or anything like that in Canberra because we are a bit too small for that. In Canberra we have, I think, a population where last time I thought we were about 350,000 people all up. But I think we might be pushing over the 400,000 mark, maybe 450. I'll have to double check. But yeah, it's something where in Canberra, majority of the people who live here work in the public service, whether it be for the local government, state government, or the federal government. So it's one or the other, and so sometimes if you have a party, you don't quite know someone, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm a public servant. Then will be the 50 million questions almost, or the 20 questions of, oh yeah, which department do you work for, and all that kind of conversation. So it's quite rare to actually come across anyone who works in private enterprise, whether it be construction or they might own a bakery or something like that. So sometimes if that is the case, they get even more questions like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, that's so cool. And yeah, they get a lot more questions about the work they do and that kind of thing. But yeah, I work in information management. So I help people create and manage their records. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment is with the stitching, even though I've got the pattern underneath the cover page that we see here, I'm actually using the cover page a little bit as my guide for where to stitch. So I guess I'm stitching the stalk, so to speak, of the letter T, and just using the cover page as a guide for where I can stop stitching the stalk and start stitching the base of the letter T. So once I get down to the base of this letter T, I'll stop and call it a day. But yeah, I'm definitely keen for you to all to let me know what your preferences are with how you've liked this episode so far with the stitching, and if there's a different camera angle that can work. For example, if I can try and do a side view, so you can see what's happening with my hands and fingers underneath this hoop. I might even try and get a stand set up. I do have a stand that's connected to an over-the-top light or OTT hot light. The light does flicker a bit. Some of the light bulbs in the over the headlight are slowly dying. So yeah, I'm definitely keen if you let me know what you think of this particular stitching session, and I'm also keen to find out from people if they are part of the Zombies Run stitching group. I'm definitely interested in finding out your experiences with participating in the group and all that kind of thing, because I guess because I'm a runner and I use the app to run and listen to, I'm just curious about whether it's something I would enjoy to participate in as well from a stitching perspective, because I have tried, I guess this year has been my first year to participate in the WhipGo challenge, and I think I set myself some ambitious goals, and that's possibly part of where I'm struggling a little bit with it. And at the start of this year, I was kicking goals. I was able to get a couple of whips finished. So WhipGo is works in progress based upon the bingo board. So go and check out Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She is the creator behind WhipGo. There is a Facebook group for this as well. And with WhipGo, 2 numbers are drawn at the end of each month, so around the 27th of each month. So at the end of this year, for example, on the 27th of December, 2 numbers will be called in preparation for January next year, and those 2 numbers will correlate to a board you have created for yourself, and I guess, projects that you have assigned to each number on the board, and you can assign whatever projects you want that you want to see progress on or even finish. So you can choose what goal you want to set for each project and go from there, really. But I set some ambitious goals where I wanted to stitch 250 stitches per day per project. So 2 projects per day with a total stitching count of, I guess, total of 500 stitches. And I did that on holidays. It was fine. It was no problems because it was summer holidays and relaxing and that kind of thing. But as soon as I started work again, so I work full time, that just wasn't going to happen. So I was a bit ambitious, and with a lot of the projects I had, I didn't really want to work on. So that's it for this session. Thank you so much for sticking with me and letting me ramble on and share with you some of the stuff that I'm working on and some of the stuff that I've got going through my mind. Curiosity is connected with this project of Flosstube made me do it. I hope you can catch up with me next time, and I would love to hear your feedback on this particular stitching session as to what you like to see more of and what I can do to improve on this. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all later. Bye.